It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right. How's everybody's July doing? Here in New York, we're about to get near 100-degree temperature again. But tonight, manageable. I don't think we'll have any power outages. I want to welcome all of you to the Sit Down. I am Don Tony. It is Sunday, July 12th, 2026. Got a lot of stuff to get into. Obviously, Sunday's the lazy show. Everybody who's live gets to participate if you want. If you got any question for yours truly, I'll answer it. If you have any comments you want me to share, I'll share it. If you have any derogatory thoughts, within reason, we'll talk about it. But once in a while, what we'll do is if there's one particular discussion or two that seems to have taken over a lot of the wrestling discussion, we'll get into it on Sunday. Monday is our regular show, and sometimes it carries over to Mondays, but there's definitely two things that I want to discuss today a little bit. And one of them has to do with the odds. All right, the SummerSlam odds, which, look, we've only had a few matches announced so far, so it would be ridiculous to say that we're going to give you full-blown odds, but I think it is telling a story that might explain a little bit as to why ticket sales are absolutely, I wouldn't call it horrendous. I mean, 23,000 tickets with only a couple of matches announced. I think that is, not too far off of what we would think it would have. But I think there's a bigger glaring picture, and it's not just ticket prices. It's definitely not just ticket prices. Also, this continued discussion about Sheamus, which I don't get. I really don't get it. I mean, popular wrestler, absolutely. 20-year career, without a doubt. Future Hall of Famer, yeah. I mean, no shit. But, this real hardcore analysis of Sheamus and the contract and the pay cut offered and how this is concerning, and it's only concerning if you're over the age of 40 and you're not doing as much as you used to. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes people will play on people's emotions because that's what makes them the most money. But I'm looking at Sheamus, with just not rose-colored glasses, with just common sense. And the more I look into the Sheamus situation, the more I get a little angry at Sheamus himself. The more I feel that the guy might be a little bit greedy, should I dare say it. And, when I give opinions, I make sure to stress his opinions. But there's a lot of people out there that try to interpret what they say as news and as facts. And many times they don't back it up with anything. Me, I try to back things up, not necessarily to change anybody's minds, but to try to make you understand a little bit as to why I take a certain viewpoint. Make no mistake about it. Sheamus has had a great run in the WWE. I don't think anybody is questioning that at all. But the problem is that Sheamus, to quote, it's an old song, but it's still a phrase that a lot of us use. What have you done for me lately? And, I would love to debate some people out there that take a completely different take that I do. And I get it. TKO assholes, TKO greedy, TKO not managing WWE to be as fan friendly. And we don't just mean simply ticket prices, but TKO is not handling WWE to the point that we're all satisfied with. But because of your dislike with TKO takes over everything else, I think is a little bit ridiculous. And I want to bring you a good example. All right. This is a graphic that I was kind of surprised. Chris Van Vliet, the great interviewer, Chris Van Vliet put this out. And it's a breakdown of all Sheamus's matches for the last 22 years, from 2004 to the present. And I have it on the screen for everyone to look at. And I want you, and absolutely chime in with your opinions also. We'll share them in a few moments, but I just want to make a point. All right, when you look at this, keep in mind that in 2024, Sheamus signed a new 5-year deal with WWE. We have no idea how much this deal was, but some would believe that 7 digits, is very fair to say, no question about it. And when you look, I mean, no one is asking us to have 2012 Sheamus or even 2017 Sheamus. We're not looking for the Sheamus of 10 years ago. But when you realize that 10 years ago, Sheamus was having 150 to 200 matches a year, and now 10 years later, he is having 80% of those matches less. 80% less. When you go to 2024, in 2024, when he signed the deal, he was wrestling about 40 to 45 matches. In 2022, he wrestled 85 matches. In 2021, he wrestled 66. All right, so he's been averaging about 70 matches a year, 60 matches a year. Of course, he had injuries in 2023, so his match, the number was down a little bit. But just let this sink in for a minute. He signs a 5-year deal in 2024. And since then, since he signed the contract, he has had 29 matches in 2024, 26 matches in 2025. And then I ask all of you out there, how many matches has Sheamus wrestled since that infamous match where John Cena teamed up with him and Rafe against the Judgment Day? How many matches has Sheamus wrestled since then? Does anybody have an idea? I'll give you a hint. Look at your screen. He claims he has banger after banger after banger after banger. Well, since November of last year, it's been 0 after 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 0. So what is the point I'm trying to make? You sign a 5-year deal in 2024, and your matches for the years prior is 66 and 80 something, and it's cut down a little bit in 2024 because of injury. And then since then, you've wrestled 55 matches in 3 years. Would TKO be stupid to go up to you and say, hey, listen, man, we gave you a 5-year deal and you wrestled 29 matches in 2024, 26 matches in 2025. We've paid you for 7 months in 2026 and you haven't wrestled anything yet. I think we need to cut your salary down to reflect your performance a little bit more. I mean, I get it. Emotion always kicks in. How could you release anybody during the pandemic? Oh, Tony Khan, he didn't release anybody during the pandemic. Welcome to the real world. I'm not a fan of TKO, but when you look at these numbers, explain to me how TKO is out of bounds for going to a guy that has not wrestled in 9-10 months, that has wrestled 90% less matches than he did in 2012. All right, and you turn around and you say, listen, we got to cut your salary a little bit. Some people make it seem like they offered him $100,000 to stay with the company. With Kevin Nash, he put his foot in his mouth, obviously. I don't blame Trump for it in some way, but he put his foot in his mouth and he immediately jumped the gun and he said, they fuck TKO and they're making all his record profits and they're cutting people's pay in half and blah, 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 blah. And Andrew Wang Yang comes out of the woodwork and, Kevin Nash, I support him. And everybody thinks that Kevin Nash is going to start a movement. And then somebody went, hey, Kev, this is how much they're making. Holy shit. They're making even more, even with the pay cut. and he shut the fuck up. So as much as I am going to miss Sheamus on WWE television, look at those numbers and you tell me how TKO is not justified to restructure, to be more accordingly to what he's been doing since 2024. And listen, if the guy starts working more, remember the Jinder Mahal, the pot, and if he has more matches, he'll get a bigger bonus. It's not like Sheamus. Listen, what it came down to is Sheamus is a part-timer now. And Sheamus doesn't want to get paid part-time. He feels, I worked 20 years, I'm a lifer, I'm a veteran, I'm a Hall of Famer, this and I need to be paid accordingly. No, that's not how it works. And for all the people out there in news world and podcast land and social media land that want to tell you otherwise, you pay his fucking salary then. You pay his salary. You have a show, you pay someone that only shows up 20% of the time. And you turn around and when it hits your pocket, you turn around and you say, no, this is the right thing to do. He's been with me for 10, 20 years. Is that the right thing to do? No, you're going to turn around and say, hey, listen, you never come on. We got to, adjust your money a little bit. That's all this is. This isn't rocket science. I mean, I get it. Fuck TKO in the ass. The hell with them. But, you look at these numbers. There's no other way to put it. He hasn't wrestled yet this year. Meanwhile, he's collecting a paycheck. 0 after 0 after 0. Tell me if I'm wrong. I totally respect the opposite view. All I'm saying is if you're going to have an opposite view, don't simply just say, well, TKO is making record profits. Well, TKO is making record profits. That's not the answer. That is not the answer. And there should be no concern. If you're an older wrestler and you're not contributing like you used to, you're on the bench a lot more than maybe you even expected, you should not be surprised when that phone call calls. Even if Triple H has the Guinness World Record of the number of times he points to you, it doesn't matter. People, this should not be a surprise. And most of the people that have their balls in a bunch online about this are the ones that don't have a significant job or responsibility. You have a business to run and someone never shows up. I mean, unless you're a pervert and the person's not showing up is sexy as fuck and you're just paying them because you like looking at them, that's different. But someone doesn't perform or some injury or no injury, you have to turn around and you have to adjust things accordingly. So, Sheamus, appreciate everything you've done. I would like to see him in AEW. I think him versus Claudio would be a fun tag team to reunite. It works. They have fun together. By Sheamus teaming up with Claudio, it allows Sheamus to work less in matches, and there's fresh new opponents that he could face. I don't expect him to become a world heavyweight champion anywhere else unless it's Tom's fucking Steak and Wrestling coming out of Texas or Ireland. I don't expect that. I think if he just chills back a little bit and is a part-time player, I think he could do just fine. But the idea that it's a slap in the face that TKO is now restructuring contracts, no. As much as I don't like these motherfuckers, that's smart. That's what investors want to see. They don't want to see someone making that kind of money, working that little, and simply because he's a good guy and wrestled for 20 years that we should just, lose that money. No, that's not the way it works, in my honest opinion. So, all right. The other thing, and I saw this came in a little while before we would go live. And sometimes when some people send things before we go live, it allows me to prepare my answer a little bit and maybe sometimes do a little research. Okay. Who sent this? Mikey Ravello. Thank you, Mikey. Mikey sent a super shout out a little while before we went live. And he said, DT, besides ticket prices, why do I think SummerSlam tickets are doing so bad? All right. Now, I did a little research and I found two very interesting things. that I guarantee you no one else has done out there. Not even WrestleTix or WrestleNomics or WrestlePollox or anything like that. All right, I accidentally found this information. So I'm not throwing shade on any of them, but no one pulled up these stats that I think is quite interesting to look at. First of all, ticket prices obviously are a deal. They're nowhere near the ticket prices that were in Brooklyn or New Jersey. Minnesota's ticket prices are substantially less. All right, but something is happening in Minnesota that WWE should have taken a page of for SummerSlam the last 10 years. And it's showing us something. First and foremost, I will say this to open up. SummerSlam should have never been a two-night event. Should have never been a two-night event. And I'll tell you why. WrestleMania, see, I don't mind the Royal Rumble being 2 nights because you have the women's Royal Rumble match on night 1. And I know some people out there, why can't the women close out night 2? All right, have the men's Royal Rumble match close out night 1 and the women's Royal Rumble match close out night 2. That match is over an hour. It eats up a third of the night. Royal Rumble, you could get away with a 2-night event because you have an hour plus, an hour and 20 minutes for each match that you could knock off and add 4 more matches to, and that's a nice little card to have. But when you're talking about a regular premium live event, now you have to start coming up with about 14 matches. And here's where WWE made a huge error. And this is on TKO, but this is also on WWE Creative. The only other 2-night event that we have for WWE is WrestleMania, as of right now, WrestleMania. Understand that you have months and months and months of shows that have WrestleMania implications. You have things that come out of Survivor Series, things that go to the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble is January. WrestleMania is April. So you go around 3-4 months before, you're already building the road to WrestleMania. You're doing tours, you're doing house shows, you're doing Elimination Chamber, you're sprinkling in the Saturday night's main event. You have the road to WrestleMania on Raw, on SmackDown. So you have a good 4-month build to lead to WrestleMania. SummerSlam, you don't have a 4-month build. And the reason why you don't have a 4-month build is because we're in July. So let's go 4 months ago. June, May, April, March. March, we haven't even had WrestleMania as of yet. April, WrestleMania happened. So it is only 3 months since WrestleMania. You need to have a cooling down period. People are drunk and have hangovers with WrestleMania, let alone it being a fucking 7-hour, 8-hour, two-day event. And everything that's built for months and months, so you need to come down a little bit. And slowly you got to build that up again. How do you do that where you're at the end of April and you're like, wow, in 3 months we got a SummerSlam? You should already start the build for SummerSlam. And WrestleMania hasn't even happened yet. That is mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is you don't have feuds teased, built for months and months and months. Just because CM Punk shows up with Cody Rhodes last year and says, I'm going to show up on SmackDown, maybe one day I'll challenge you for that title. And then now CM Punk's the champion. See, long-term booking. No, that's not long-term booking. CM Punk has been out since April. He came back, first match back, wins the championship. And now suddenly Cody gets the title shot at SummerSlam because he's the one that lost the championship. All right, so this is what they do. I told you guys last week. You watch. As soon as Sammy loses that title, Nick Aldis magically appears again. Gunther magically appears again. I told you. Everything that we saw going back to Italy, going to Saudi Arabia, Nick Aldis administrative leave, Gunther and said, no, this is how do we explain not having Gunther? How do we explain Sami Zayn defending the title on Raw? Why would Nick Aldis be willing to do that? Why would Nick Aldis have Sami Zayn fight a Raw wrestler and take jeopardy oh, well, we'll just give him administrative leave. Oh, good, yeah. Well, how do we explain Gunther not being involved in everything? Oh, well, he'll fuck with Nick Aldis. Oh, okay. So they do that, and everybody's like, wow, we're going to get Gunther versus Nick Aldis at SummerSlam. Holy shit. Wow. Blah, 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 blah. And we don't even know if we're getting that. All of this was one whole strategic. That's why when people say to me, do I think Sami Zayn knew that his title reign was going to be 9 days? Absolutely. Absolutely. This shit was planned weeks, if not months ago. This was planned a long time ago. This was planned when CM Punk was given his sabbatical for his good World Championship reign leading into WrestleMania. This was planned for a while. Now you see all of this horrendous decisions just so Cody losing the title, Sammy losing it on Raw, Nick Aldis magically appears on Raw. Hey, I booked the match. Adam Pearson said, security, eject this guy. You're on administrative leave. I don't have the authority to bring you back in. Blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just stupid. It didn't make sense. And let me add something else. We'll get to Super Cody in a minute. I don't know if we should call it Crusader Cody or Super Cena Cody, or I don't know. I got to find the right phrase for Cody, but something pissed me off on Monday, and I have to remind everyone what that is. But you don't have the build like WrestleMania. Now you're just putting matches together. Hopefully you have an intriguing match enough that people will pay $100 to go watch it live. That's why we've only had 4 matches announced for a 2-night event that probably should have minimum 12 matches, if not 14. We're 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away with no 3-month build like WrestleMania. And you want people to pay blindly for what they're going to see? So that's another mistake. Then we get to the odds. The odds for SummerSlam so far. 4 matches. And this is fucking telling. And it makes you wonder if WWE is going to give us a shocking outcome on a match just to go against the odds. Why do I say that? I've been a wrestling fan since 1979. Wrestling has changed dramatically over the years. It went from drop kicks to sunset flips to headlocks and arm bars and all this other shit and very boring stuff. I mean, you had the occasional exciting match, don't get me wrong, but you went from that type of style to obviously what started to morph into what we had in the 90s, and Lucha Libre coming in and hardcore and, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff. You got the European influence. Women's wrestling started to take off much bigger. Wrestling has changed a lot over the years. One thing that has not changed, and this is the core of being a wrestling fan. The core of being a wrestling fan is when you have a hard time determining who wins and who loses. Suspension of disbelief. Suspension of disbelief is everything. WWE Unreal has hurt that in a lot of ways. Trust me, when you watch the AJ Lee stuff and you see Becky Lynch 3 feet away, you know, smiling as AJ Lee is hugging CM Punk and this and that, you realize, oh, I guess they don't hate each other as much as we're supposed to believe. No, I mean, everybody's a team player. But the thing is that suspension of disbelief is critical in wrestling. You don't want to feel like the two people that claim they hate each other don't really hate each other. All right. And not only that, one thing that hasn't changed since I've been a wrestling fan since then is when you have a hard time predicting a winner. That's when wrestling is at its best. Some of the greatest feuds that we have had over the years, you could have gone either way with a winner. Just think of some of your favorite feuds over the years. You could have gone either way with a winner. So now you have SummerSlam. You have 4 matches announced. And I want to share with you the betting odds for SummerSlam, okay? CM Punk defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Cody Rhodes. Right now, CM Punk is the favorite to win at 84%. And I even think that number is low, 84%. All right, I know a lot of people would have been intrigued to see Cody versus CM Punk. But they're telling you basically CM Punk is winning this, the only thing you have left is the IWC. Hey, Cody, turn heel. Cody, it's the time to turn heel. Of course, Cody and CM Punk are going to tease dissension at Saturday night's main event to add a little bit of friction going into WrestleMania. Everybody does that. Everybody does that. All right, but in the end, you understand what Cody is and who he is and what he does. And turning around and going against the core of the WWE universe, they're not doing. They're not doing. Sorry. Santa Claus is still fake. Sorry, just because you think it's the time. I still remember the people when Cody Rhodes had that promo exchange with John Cena. Remember? There, unpopular opinion. That was it. Cody's turning heel. Mark my words. You see, he's going to turn heel on John Cena. Oh my God, it's almost as bad as Coach. Your boy got sources. Britt Baker is about to sign with WWE. Your boy. We're entering year 2. Your boy. These people, they're trying to take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad. That's why they hold on to the Cody heel turn thing. Because they want to see this good. I want to make this clear. The people out there that are pushing the Cody heel narrative are not dumb. They want this to turn into something positive, and in their eyes, Cody turning heel is the right way to go. Problem is, who is the second biggest babyface on SmackDown? Cody turns heel. Who's the next Finn Balor? Are you kidding me? As much as I love Finn Balor, are you kidding me? Like, you have to have not just one, you have to have 2 or even 3 top baby faces that could, everybody pays to see. What are you going to have? Gunther, Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes? Let them build a faction. No. So, of course, it's going to be teased. Of course, we'll have shoving matches and maybe even fisticuffs. But at the end of the day, we know what it is. So now we get to Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns right now is a 92% chance of winning over Seth Rollins. 92%. Seth Rollins has pretty much handed this storyline to all of us. Roman, you've never beaten me. It's the same thing with Cody Rhodes to Seth Rollins. Seth, you've never beaten me. When you have 2, 3, 4 matches, you've never beaten me, and you keep stressing that point, you're getting beat. And the betting companies out there believe the same. So, sure, people would like to see Roman versus Seth, but they would also like to be able to not be able to pick a winner. And if it feels so goddamn obvious Roman Reigns is going to win it, it does take away a little bit of the suspension of disbelief. So now you got Liv Morgan defending the Women's World Championship against Io Sky. And a lot of people feel, this might be Io's night. Well, the betting odds tell us right now that Liv Morgan has a 75% chance of winning. You see where this is going? No matches that they have announced has it been more 50-50. The closest we got to that was in Italy, when Gunther and Cody Rhodes were like at 49.5 apiece. And truly, you could go either way. In fact, when we did predictions for that contest, for that show, it was almost 50-50 as far as some people picking Cody and some people picking Gunther. That is very rare to have a match that people give a shit about that is a toss-up. Even Brock Oba going into WrestleMania was almost a toss-up. Oba was a little bit of a favorite. I think he had 60%. But once you got to Italy and people started thinking, okay, there's going to be three, then you started to see the odds turn in a different way. So now you got Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi. Holy shit. Right now, Obafemi is the favorite, 98%. 98%. I mean, I get it. We like to watch matches because of the two participants in the ring. But when every match has ridiculously one-sided betting odds, that suspension of disbelief as far as who's going to win and who's going to lose is out the door. And when you see the lack of build, there's a lot of people that still think the Oba-Brock storyline makes no sense. We've made sense out of it, but there's enough people out there that don't like it and feel that this was a waste of time. And they're also starting to not trust WWE. And I think it kind of goes back to a year ago this week. A year ago this week, Seth Rollins lost to LA Knight at Saturday night's main event. And what happened in that match? Seth Rollins blew out his leg, or so we thought. Now, of course, it was a rouge, it was a swerve, and it was an awesome swerve. And when he showed that he was fine, that was great. But people started to feel like, we're not going to believe him the next time he gets injured. We're not going to believe this, we're not going to believe that. And they feel that WWE is doing a lot of bait and switching. And trust me, I think the Seth Rollins swerve is what inspired WWE to do more of these bait and switches. Now they're doing it in the creative sense where Oba wins King of the Ring and Oba says, I don't want King of the Ring. I want Brock instead. What the fuck did you go in the tournament for in the first place? Why weren't you on TV week after week after week? You know, Adam Pearce, Oba, you're in King of the Ring. I don't want to be in King of the Ring. I am the ruler. I am the ruler. I want Brock. SummerSlam. Give me Brock, the ruler. If I win King of the Ring, I will not have my match unless I get Brock. Well, you're wasting your time, Adam. You're wasting your time. No. For a whole fucking month. I'm going to win. And I'm going to challenge the champion. And I'm going to have my throne. And I'm going to carry the crown. I'm going to have my throne. And then he has the throne. Fuck the throne. I want Brock. Now, people get annoyed at that shit. They get annoyed at that stuff. Seth Rollins loses the tournament. He gets the title shot anyway. Brother, you want to fight me? Brother. Maybe we could go out after, brother. We could get tattoos together, brother. That's the LA Knight promo from last week. You know, WWE thinks they're cute. They try to play off on our real emotions towards certain things. And because they play it on TV, they think it's more realistic for us. Case in point, when you had CM Punk calling out TKO and Pat McAfee, all right? However, we all knew for a long time that CM Punk is much more in bed than TKO than is perceived. And Cody Rhodes is the biggest corporate bitch boy of them all. And I say that complimentary. He is the poster child. He is that person. He is him. If you are a billion-dollar company doing wrestling and you could have one person to represent your company in the ring, outside the ring, professionally, personally, Cody Rhodes is your man. And Cody, not too long ago, cutting promos, ripping on the management, TKO and executives, and The Rock and everything else. Motherfucker, your ass cheeks probably have Nick and fucking Ariel's names on each side. And you do tricks and they come together. Trust me, Cody is deeper in the weeds with them than we could ever imagine. He ain't no outsider. So when you see LA Knight cutting this promo and throwing digs at Roman and Seth and this and that, that's because we're all complaining online. LA Knight, give him a chance. LA Knight, give him a chance. LA Knight, give him a chance. LA Knight is fucked up. LA Knight is fucked up. Why are we getting Seth and Roman? They just keep getting the opportunities. They get this, they get that. So, let me voice it out on TV, and I hear you. I hear you. LA Knight is as corporate with them as well. I'm sure he's frustrated. that he's not getting better opportunity, but he's getting paid nicely and he's doing his job. And that's what you do. Sami Zayn changed his view on WWE. You heard that video. We played it over the last bunch of months. When I played that video 6 months ago, people were angry at Sami Zayn. It is what it is, but there's no outsiders. Everybody knows their role and they shut their mouths. So when you see all of this, this is why SummerSlam's ticket prices are bad, but there's something else. This is the stat that I just backed into unexpectedly. I'm going to share something with you that's going to blow your fucking mind, okay? I have in my hand the SummerSlam attendances for the last 10 years, before COVID and after COVID. And when I get into this, you will understand immediately why SummerSlam should have been one night. If the lack of build wasn't enough, like we talked about, if it was the betting odds was not enough, this will convince you. In 2025, we had a 2-night event for SummerSlam, and that was obviously in Jersey. And they had 53,161 for night one and 60,561 on night two. Night two is always bigger than night one because it's been pretty much a given since WWE's done 2 nights that you have the biggest match saved for last. So people are betting more on the idea that night 2 will give them a little bit better of a show. It doesn't matter who's in the matches. They just want to see the more quality matches. So that's why you had a 7,000 attendance difference between night 1 and night 2. So keep the 50,000 number on the back of your brain a minute. 4 years prior, from 2021 to 2024, SummerSlam took place in Brooklyn, New York. Bet you didn't realize that. SummerSlam was in Brooklyn 4 straight years. Excuse me, from 2015 to 2019. SummerSlam was in Brooklyn 4 straight years. Okay? Now, before we get to that, in 2024, SummerSlam was in Cleveland, Ohio at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Attendance, 57,791. In 2023, SummerSlam was in Detroit, Michigan at Ford Field, 51,477. 2022, SummerSlam was at Nashville, Tennessee at Nissan's Stadium. Attendance, 48,449. 2021, SummerSlam was in Las Vegas, Nevada at Allegiant Stadium. Attendance, 45,690. From 2021 to 2024, SummerSlam was averaging close to 50,000 fans each time. So TKO takes over, sees WrestleMania making the kind of coin for 2 nights in a row and thinks, we could do that with SummerSlam. And now they're only getting 22 to 23,000 tickets sold with 3 weeks to go in a 70,000 plus building. 70,000 seat building. What does that tell you? Those 2 nights combined add up to about 1 night over the last 4 years of SummerSlam. From 2021 to 2024, the attendance is in line with both nights of Minnesota. What does that tell you also? Is that a lot of people are not paying to see both nights. Of course, you get your front row people. You'll see the same fucking people for both nights. But outside of the first couple of rows, your attendance for night 1 and night 2 is completely different. You're not getting a ton of people that are buying both nights. It's too expensive. Plus, that is a lot to bring on a person. All right, so when you add the 2 nights together, that is more in line of what 1 night gave SummerSlam from 2021 to 2024. Now, we had the pandemic in 2020, so there was no fans in attendance in 2020. So from 2015 to 2019, 4 of those 5 years, SummerSlam was in Brooklyn. I want to give you the attendance from SummerSlam before the pandemic. 2015, SummerSlam was in Brooklyn, 15,702 fans. 2016, SummerSlam was in Brooklyn, 15,574 fans. 2017, SummerSlam was in Brooklyn, 16,128 fans. 2018, SummerSlam was in Brooklyn, 16,169. 2019, SummerSlam was in Canada at the Scotiabank Arena, 16,904. Before the pandemic, SummerSlam averaged 16,000 fans. After the pandemic, the first SummerSlam back, they went to Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas and drew 45,000 fans. So they thought, you know what? Let's keep booking in stadiums. So you had Allegiant Stadium, Nissan Stadium, Ford Field, Cleveland Browns Stadium, MetLife Stadium. So they started to go to football stadiums after the pandemic, and they were selling well because you were getting 9, 10, 12 matches for one night. Now you're trying to break that up onto 2 nights, and you're basically telling everyone, we're going to give you half the food for the same amount of money. And a lot of people are like, fuck that. So SummerSlam should have never been a 2-night event. Never. There's not enough time to build. You could get away with that with WrestleMania. I truly believe you could get away with that with the Royal Rumble. But you cannot get away with that with SummerSlam. Ain't gonna work. I think at the most, they might get 30,000 fans for each one. And that might be stretching it a bit. And that is still less than half of what those places hold. You realize people are choosing. Do I go to night 1 or do I go to night 2? Not many people are saying, I'm going to go to both. You could do a 25% off coupon all you want. You could do a 50% coupon all you want. If you use the Amazon example, you understand what I mean by that. You go on Amazon all the time, it'll say limited price or big red, to 50% off, 25% off. Now what Amazon does is you could hit a button and look at the price history for the last 3 months or even a year on a product. And even though it says 50% off, you look at a year and the price has been the same. They want you to feel like they're giving you a break. TKO overpriced their tickets. And you get that surge of people that I gotta be first. You get the scalpers, you get, all those fans, a hardcore of the hardcore fan base. And they did get 45,000 tickets sold. Minnesota's got 45,000 tickets sold, but that's across 2 nights instead of 1. If SummerSlam was 1 night, people would be raving about the ticket sales so far. But it's 2 nights. So now you're getting closer, and now you got to try to get people in by any means necessary. So now you got to do some matches, you got to throw. We're 3 weeks away and only 4 fucking matches for 2 nights. Because they think that some of these matches are WrestleMania quality. On paper, they are. But how many times did we see over the years on Nitro, on Raw, even on AEW, we're getting a match for free on TV that it'd be a main event on any pay-per-view. That is true. We have seen matches on television that could main event any pay-per-view. The point is, it's not main eventing a pay-per-view. So just because it's names doesn't mean... If you have 2 teams play during the season in a baseball season, and those 2 teams are the favorites to win the World Series, yeah, these 2 teams, that could be a World Series game, but it's not a World Series game. It's a regular game, just like any other. So this is why SummerSlam is having such a difficult time. It should have been 1 night, and if I'm WWE, you go back to 1 night next year, and you use some bullshit excuse. You get your stooges in the wrestling news world. Our sources tell me that WWE pursued 2 nights, but the building was only available for 1. And then you'll find out, like, on that Saturday or that Sunday that they're not there, you'll find out there's nothing going on. Yeah, but explain to me why there's a shut up. So that's my rant about SummerSlam. All right. Shout out to Sinapes. Thank you, Sinapes, for the 20 spot, my friend. If WWE sold to Saudi Arabia, do any U.S.-based promotions like TNA or AEW have growth opportunities by the vacuum that's left to fill? Or would they be hurt by it? Well, here's the thing. I don't know if TNA or AEW would benefit by WWE being sold to Saudi Arabia. Because the thing is, it's not like WWE's going to have a big suitcase on their screen. We're moving. You know, we're going to be in Tel Aviv, Saudi Arabia every week. No, I honestly think that if WWE, and listen, I don't want WWE sold to Saudi Arabia. To me, that's the death knell. That's the death knell for WWE. Even if it takes 5 or 10 years for WWE to die, that's someone who's starting to cough up lungies, you know, maybe occasional blood, but they're still around 10 years later. You know, they're slowly dying. I mean, that's what would happen with WWE if it's sold to Saudi Arabia. But the thing is that Saudi Arabia would be investors behind the scenes. I don't think WWE suddenly changes their home base and instead of Stamford, Connecticut, it's Tel Aviv, you know, Saudi Arabia. I think a lot would be everyday business. Listen, a lot of you out there told me, DT, what do I think is going to change, you know, on WWE television once TKO takes over? And I said, I don't think that much as far as visual goes. Yeah, you got the excessive advertising and who could have expected that? But outside of that, you look at the stage, the ring, the setup, the flow. It is not that much different than a couple of years ago. Not that much different. You know, you don't change what's not broken. And Nick Khan said that repeatedly over the years. You know, this week is the anniversary of all the news outlets telling you that Raw is going to be TV 14. I mean, talk about embarrassment for a lot of the sites that charge you money. They were pushing 2 years ago this week that WWE was going TV 14, that Raw was going to TV 14, and it was a lie. I don't know where they got the sources from, but my point is you don't try to fix what's not broken. Obviously, and this is going to sound a little weird when I say it, but people understand why I say this. WWE's not that broken. They're just greedy. They're just greedy. If SummerSlam was one night and you add 3 more good matches to it, you know, ticket prices obviously are a bitch, but I think people would be like, hey, you know, this is not a bad card. I thought Italy was a great card. I thought every match in Italy was solid. We just didn't expect the bullshit, and they got to stop with the ESPN thing. Did you see the news that came out the last 2 weeks? ESPN wants 2 matches added to the shows because of the bull's fucking shit. Bullshit. They have put on matches for the first hour to try to entice people in to upgrade their membership to watch the rest of their premium live event. The only reason why ESPN would turn around and say that is because they've already had an hour ingested. So I'm going to sign up just to get another hour and a half? That's the only reason why ESPN is saying. ESPN basically wants a Sunday Night Heat. ESPN wants a pre-show. ESPN wants that hour that is put in advance or to not affect the whole show. If a WWE Premium Live event is supposed to be 3 hours and the first hour airs on ESPN, they don't want that hour to be deducted because not a lot of people are going to upgrade just to watch 3 more matches. You advertise 5 matches and 2 of them already aired. I'm going to upgrade my membership to watch 3 others? Especially when you pulled me in by putting Brock Lesnar or Gunther or this and that, you know, the beginning? No, that's why we're getting this. But no, I think if Saudi Arabia took over, they would turn this into a spectacle. It's kind of like Netflix. See, I don't want Netflix buying WWE either. When I saw Netflix at the Yankee-Giants game to open the Major League season, I didn't give a shit the Usos were eating nachos sitting in the front row. When he had that fucking hand and they were going to try to make the hand throw out the first ball, I wish somebody would have rigged it where the hand would have had explosives or maybe a pistola and just went, you know, rogue on everybody. You know, it just, you could see how Netflix fucks things up. You see what's happening in the UFC world. Now it's the new thing is let's get legends from not too long ago come back and fight one match. And the problem is that you're putting all this stock on someone who doesn't do this on a regular basis anymore. That is training for, it's like Logan Paul, the UFC version of Logan Paul. You got, Ronda Rousey coming against Gina Carano. Neither one are going to have another match right after that. So it's kind of like Logan Paul training for one match and one match only, or Bad Bunny or something like that. Of course, they've done it in the past, but when you're not doing this on a regular basis anymore, you're asking for disaster. And I'm kind of happy that this is happening in the UFC world because their latest thing is, let's bring in nostalgia where they're not too old so it doesn't look like bum fights. And let's just have people that we haven't seen in a while get in the ring and fucking do it one more time. And, people are not prepared. Father Time catches up. I don't care how many kicks in the air fucking Conor McGregor has done over the last 3 months leading up to this. It's just, it is what it is. This kick now, like, oh, we'll bring Mike Tyson back for a match, or we'll bring this back for a match. Nah, man, you're trying to have people that are past their prime acting like Sheamus was 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Yeah, we just brought up the matches with Sheamus. There's a reason why Sheamus only has 25 matches now, where 10 years ago he's having 100 matches. All right, it's just the body breaks down. It's just a part of what it is. But if Saudi Arabia ever bought WWE, to me, that's the death knell. Because everything will be spectacle. When you do SummerSlam, they'll have elephants walking down the ring. They'll fucking have their own people get involved with storylines and segments. If you think it sucks enough to have all these hip-hop artists and country bumpkins and fucking Netflix personalities and comedians, and this one has a stand-up show, and this one has a talk show, and this one is a former boxer, and this guy is a social media personality, you think that's going to be bad. You wait when you got billionaires. You had that one schmuck that sat next to fucking Michael Cole who didn't say a damn thing, paid $1 million to sit there with a headset on, a fake headset with no microphone, and he's standing there looking like a goof so he could tell his rich friends and his family, honey, look, son, you don't have to be embarrassed at your father anymore. I did commentary at WrestleMania. This is what you're going to have when you get all these fucking oil tycoons and bigwigs and billionaires and millionaires that think they can do it. You're going to have a Sheik Al-Hassi fucking doing major moves. You're going to forget it. Forget it. This will turn into spectacle. It will be nowhere near what wrestling used to be. And Netflix would not be any better. My God. No. You'll see celebrity wrestling events. We have celebrity golf tournaments. You have celebrity boxing. Remember Joey Buttafuoco versus China? You'll have celebrity wrestling events. You'll have a whole card and it's all celebrities. So fuck that. No. Jim Con. Thank you, Jim Con, for the super shout out. Punk and Danhausen's segment would be funny. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. They are close, and Punk will do a lot for his friends. They are tight, and they will do something. CM Punk will be walking in the back. Oh, CM Punk, you see my newest invention. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. In fact, they'll probably even have CM Punk take part in the skit. You know what'll happen? CM Punk will be in the back. He'll run into his friend Danhausen, and then fucking Baron Corbin shows up, and starts picking a fight with Danhausen, and CM Punk goes in his face like, why don't you pick a fight with me? Ooh, that's probably what we're going to see. I think that's what we'll see. Oh, Baron Corbin. Oh, my God. I'll say this, man. Baron Corbin attacking Mello and Trick Williams wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, I realize, this is the best way I could put it. Listen, I don't like Baron Corbin. Personally, I can't stand him. Not only me and all my former friends blocked from that guy. That guy was a punk ass bitch, trying to show off in front of us that he's got a Ferrari and all that stuff. But I will say this: his run in NXT was very good, and I think WWE grossly missed the ball when they brought him to the main roster. Obviously, he was not going to team up with Braun Breaker anymore, but the Baron Corbin that started to work in NXT, they did not do anything of the sort when they brought him to the main roster. If they can bring a little of that Baron Corbin like they were using in NXT, I think fans will get behind it. I don't want to see him main event any premium live events anytime soon, but I will say I thought it was good. I have to admit it. I thought Baron Corbin on SmackDown was good. I don't know how I feel about the furry United States Championship. I love that they put the stars. They finally painted around the stars. That's beautiful. But fur, I mean, I don't know. Seriously, I mean, if I'm Baron Corbin, I get a flamethrower, fucking burn that shit right up. But yeah. So it is what it is. So shout out to everybody who's live, by the way. Shout out to everyone who's live. Shout out to everybody who's on the archive. You know what? I think now is the right time to do it. Before we get into your questions. By the way, today we are going to go until 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Anybody that's old like me knows why I said that. 10 p.m. will be our cutoff for tonight. I think we're going to start having cutoff time so everybody knows like when we're going to start wrapping things up. 10 p.m. Tomorrow night, don't forget, I will be live immediately after Raw. We estimate that to be about 10:40 p.m. Eastern. If you haven't done so already, check out this week's history show. We revisit, obviously, the end of Muhammad Hassan in the WWE and that rare promo that never aired on television. We have it in its entirety. And very, very controversial at the time. A lot of stuff. This week is the anniversary of Goldberg's retirement and a bunch of other things, too. Very quickly, I got something to share with all of you. And I'm pleasantly surprised at how the music is being accepted. But here's the thing. A lot of you have been asking me to bring Wednesday Night Dynamite on YouTube. Not just live, so to speak, but just putting the show on YouTube. And obviously, I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to reclaim getting in the weekly top 20. I'm trying to obviously pay bills. And I would love to grow more, but I want it to happen organically. Listen, I could do a show every day of the week, and suddenly I'll be spiked in the top 15. A lot of people who brag that are in the top 10, top 20, understand they do a show every fucking day. Sometimes they do 2 clips a day. So when you have somebody doing 15 downloads a week, 15 different files downloaded, and someone else like Cornette does a 3-hour show, and it's only 1 download, that's why Cornette earns his fucking top position. And you got a lot of other people that are only in the top position because they take a 3-hour show and they break it up into 10 clips. That's the science of this. I could do that too, but I don't want to do that. I want to do things a little bit more smooth. So here's the deal. Wednesday Night Dynamite, biggest reason why I don't put it on YouTube is because of the theme music. I use a disco song from the 70s. It's a disco song that no one had ever heard of before, but I always liked it. And because we have Wednesday Night Dynamite, AEW Dynamite, I'm Don Tony. So instead of Dynamite, it's Dynamite. Don All-Might. So when I put that song on there, if I tweaked the audio just to drop, it sounds like Don All-Might. Problem is, I put that song on YouTube, I get flagged. I get hit with copyrights. I reached out to the record company 3 times, almost begging them, please, this song is 52 years old. No one listens to the song. Can I license it? I just want it as an intro for my show. I don't want to put it online without the intro because it sets the vibe. It sets a little bit of me and, background and other stuff. I want that. And they don't respond. And I'm angry because I've reached out to the company that used to represent the person who made the song, who died a couple of years ago, and they offered to help me. The company Bazooka, there's the original one who put this together. That company tried to help me. But unfortunately, the main company that owns the rights to the song now will not get back to me. So I'm forced to come up with a different song. Someone had helped me come up with a different song. And I wanted something with like the disco vibe, a little bit like the Wednesday Night Dynamite, but I wanted to say Dynamite. And this person started working on this for me, gave me a rough draft, gave me the original source file, and for the last 2 weeks, I've been playing around with it. I've been adding instruments. I've been tweaking this and tweaking that. I've been trying to give it like a 70s vibe to it. Unfortunately, it feels like more like early 80s vibe, but it's starting to put together. So I put it on Patreon a couple of days ago to see the reaction to the song. Everybody loves it. But I want to do a video intro. And I already, in my mind, picture the video intro. I want it to be in a disco. And I want airhead bimbos, all different bimbos, to go Dynamite, like different ones. And you're like, I also want like in old disco font letters, Dynamite. Like every time they say the word, it flashes on the screen like a really bad 70s. And I can't get anybody on Fiverr to do it. So I started to do it myself. And yes, I had to use AI because where am I going to find women in a nightclub that are going to say Dynamite? So I have to fucking use AI. See, I don't want to use AI, but here's a case. What am I going to do? Go to a fucking club? Hey, I'll give you $100. You just stand there and go Dynamite. So I tried to make video, and my first attempt was an epic fail. I have it. I'm going to share it with you. I can't get copyrighted because this is my creation. The song you will hear is my creation. Someone set it up for me, but I added a whole bunch of sound clips to it. I would love for everyone to let me know, honestly, what do you think of the song? I'm not done, but I am going to find someone to make the video the way I want it. So for everyone out there, I hope you're on video for this because I want you to look and check out the women and check out the song. It's only a minute and a half long, but am I on to something? Because if I could get this done in a month, we'll start putting Wednesday Night Dynamite on YouTube every week, which would help tremendously, obviously, because the show would be expanded to a bigger audience. Plus, unfortunately, Apple and Spotify and iHeart and everyone else don't have algorithms. So the only way you're going to find my show is if you look out for it. On YouTube, they may recommend it once in a while, which is a nice thing. So I present to you the new and improved Wednesday Night Dynamite. My property loose. She's about to take half my property loose. What do you think? My first attempt at video, it was an epic fail, man. I mean, I like the women and how they looked and everything, but I don't know, man. What do you think? You like the song? I mean, I have a full-blown 3-minute version of it. But I'm playing around with it a little bit, and it does say Dynamite. So what do you think? My wife doesn't like disco all that much, and she's like, I can't get that song out of my head now. So And it's mine. That's the thing. It's mine, so I don't have to worry about copyrights. So I'm going to work on the music video a little bit more. But that's pretty much like my vision. I just want the mouths to look more like it's singing instead of just saying, like, all right. All right, so let's, oh, by the way, thank you for everyone who's asking about my dog, Bella. Her cyst on her head has shrunk down to a little bit smaller than a pencil eraser. The medicine is working. We have to bring her back to the vet next Sunday. And I actually took a quick picture of them earlier today. Yeah, they have a weird look on their face. They're just, yeah. They love to pose, though. So, but yeah, they're doing good. Don't mind the mess in the background, by the way. That is a mess. All right. Let's get into the live chat. Everybody in the chat, if you have a question, post it. If I answer it, wait a little bit before posting something else. Give everybody a little chance. We'll run until 10 o'clock, so we still got about 40, 45 minutes to go. Oh, there is one other thing. All right, hold your questions. I watched SmackDown on Friday, and I saw the Cody Rhodes segment, and I was surprised at how many people remembered what I said last Monday. Cody Rhodes maybe had too many Wheatley vodka shots Monday, because Cody Rhodes forgot how to sell pain. Because I watched it back because I thought, you know what, maybe he didn't get his arm smashed in the door. Because if you remember last Monday, I said I had a very big problem with it because I remember when Dusty Rhodes had his arm smashed in the door, he screamed in pain like you wouldn't believe. I'm sure some of you accidentally got your finger caught in the car door. I watched the segment again with Cody on Monday, and I was shocked at Cody's acting performance. And then some of you gave me a video today that I have to share with all of you. For everybody that is on video, even if you hear the audio, I want to share with you first a couple of seconds of The Rock whipping Cody Rhodes. And I want you to just pay attention, not only to Cody Rhodes, but how he sold it. Not just visually, but with audio.
Fuck that! Your script? Fuck that! Ah, God!
You heard Cody Rhodes scream at the top of his lungs getting whipped by a belt. While he's wearing a shirt, I might add. So now I remind you all of Cody Rhodes getting his arm slammed into a door. I want you to look at Cody Rhodes' facial reactions and, more importantly, his expression audibly of pain. Doesn't say a fucking thing. No, ow, 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 ow. No, my arm. Ah, nothing. You saw on SmackDown. Nothing. No pain, no sling, no selling. He looked pretty damn good for someone who just had his arm fucking smashed in a door. Makes Gunther look like a jerk, like a goof, I should say. Not only that, you have Nick Aldis magically appears. I mean, they're dotting their I's and they're crossing their T's, but their grammar is fucking awful. All right, they're covering their bases. How do we get here to here? And they think because they drive from here to here that, oh, we got to our destination, so we did it right. But instead of going this way, this is what it's like. Awful. And I'm not trying to nitpick here. Things like that is what turns me off about wrestling. Suspension of disbelief for me is everything. So, all right. Now we can get to questions. Toon says, how would I have booked New Jack versus Hulk Hogan? That would have been fascinating in TNA because I loved the dynamic of New Jack and Shark Boy. I think it would have been pretty fucking interesting. I think it would have to be comedy. I think it would have to be comedy to a certain extent, but I also think it needs to be violent. Like, I could see New Jack being a little bit comedic, especially the way he played off on Shark Boy with the giant gloves and all that. But then I think what would happen is New Jack would have to snap into the 187 and, you know, like just turn around from nowhere and just grab like somebody's Nintendo and smash it over Hogan's head. You couldn't do that in ECW. You probably could have like 911 chokeslam Hogan and Hogan would no-sell it. The fans would fucking boo the shit out of it. And you probably would have to have Taz come out and choke him out. You couldn't book New Jack and Hogan. Hogan would not go hardcore. Some wrestlers absolutely would not go hardcore. And if they did, like Hogan would work Sting, Hogan would work one of his friends. Hogan is not going to have a hardcore match with New Jack. I don't think New Jack would do it. I think New Jack would get so angry with it that New Jack would possibly go into business for himself. And I think Hogan is the type that would have pressed charges against him. So I don't think we would have seen that. Kevin Milwaukee says Johnny Gargano is comatose because he's distraught that Ciampa left. And he'll snap out of it when Ciampa signs back with WWE. I don't believe he will be able to stick around that long to wait for Ciampa to return. Ciampa is doing, I wouldn't say well in AEW because, you know, like, look, I look at Jay White, I look at the Rascals, I look at Ciampa, I look at Shelton Benjamin, I look at Lashley. I could go on. And I say to myself, are they higher in the food chain in AEW, or are they just paid better and working less? And I think it comes down to paid better for working less. That's what I think it is. Because it doesn't feel like any of the people I just mentioned is in line for any type of mega push anytime soon. Ciampa's having fun there. Ciampa is having TV time and having matches wherever it is. I don't think about Ciampa, it's about becoming a world champion or even becoming a tag team champion right now. I think Ciampa just wants freedom and creativeness. On the history show this week, we brought up All in Texas. 240 minutes of wrestling. You compare that to Evolution that had 100 minutes of wrestling. What's my point? Every match was over 17 minutes. So Ciampa, if he works, he wants to do his stuff. He wants to throw his spin on things. He wants to paint a little bit of his own picture in the match. And he gets to do that in AEW. A lot of people get to do that in AEW. And that's what makes them happy. It's not just having a match. It's not just wins and losses. But they get to do what they believe is good. That's why, you see Darby Allin and others, they put their spin on their matches. You don't have agents that are booking every little aspect of it. That's why Moxley gets the freedom of what he gets. And you see so many people, even like the women, when they had that cage match, and you saw some of the things that went down there, like, oh, I always wanted to try that. Oh, I always wanted to do that. And in AEW, you can. I'm telling you, like Tony Khan is like a autistic Mr. Rourke. Welcome to Fantasy Island. That's really what it is. And I say that loosely. I mean, I actually have warmed up on Tony Khan quite a bit. But Johnny Gargano, that gimmick is going to change very, very quickly. I think Johnny Gargano will attack CM Punk. I think this will lead to a match between Gargano and CM Punk. It will go nowhere. Johnny Gargano will have a great match. People will be reminded how good he could work. Maybe even a little sign of respect afterwards. And then you say to yourself, what's next? I hate to say it, I don't see Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae in the WWE this time next year. I hate to say that. I don't want to see them released. I am a fan of both. But I just can't see, I just can't see the purpose. Unless Candice LeRae wants to continue more to be more of an agent, like doing both, like training and getting the occasional work here and there. That's what kind of saved Natty's career in the WWE a little bit. All these Guinness World Record things, we've had conversation about that before, but Gargano, there will be a character change in very short order. And then you got to think, all right, what next? And when you realize there's not much left to do, that's when you're going to be a little concerned. By the way, shout out to Austin Nance. He is holding down the ship, and he's also not only been one of our great moderators here, he's been a channel member for 64 months. Dorian Mace has been a channel member here for 58 months. I just can't thank you all enough who are a channel member here to keep supporting and helping us, do what we do. So much appreciated to all of you and everybody. Spread the word, download the shows, anything you could do to help the cause. Very much appreciated. I absolutely love doing this still. Not easy to do this. Next year will be a 30th year doing this. 30 years. More than half my life doing this. And if you would have told me this 30 years ago, I'd still be doing this. I would have said I have an absolutely shitty life. Nothing going on, but, I've been sort of blessed so far with everything. But much love, everybody. Much love. Mid-range. Shout out to you, my friend. He is also a channel member here. Johnny Gargano will be a backstage agent or a coach. Listen, there are people that WWE has offered that opportunity, and some have said no. Some started and then pulled back. I think one of the classic examples was Scotty 2 Hotty. Scotty 2 Hotty was doing a lot of the agent thing, and then he just felt like, no, I still want to do a little bit more outside. It's got to be rough. I don't care if you're at the top of the food chain in a wrestling company or if you're on the lower card. It's got to be rough having a majority of your adult life wrestling, and then you start seeing that tunnel, the end of that tunnel, and realize that I can't move around like I used to. I can't do what I used to. But you still feel like you have a little bit left in the tank, and you want to try to stretch that out. It's kind of like the bad Seinfeld episode. You remember the Seinfeld episode where Kramer wanted to see how far he could go until the gas tank is on empty? That's kind of like what Adam Copeland is doing. That's kind of like what Sheamus will be doing. That's kind of like what some others will be doing. They want to see how far they could stretch that gas tank before it goes on empty. And there's a couple of ways to stretch it. If you go 55 and you don't keep stopping and going in traffic, you'll go further. But if you fucking floor it and go 90, you'll be out of gas in 10 minutes. So AEW, for some of the older wrestlers, it is prolonging their career a little bit because they're used sparingly. So I think for some wrestlers, being offered a coach, I think if I'm Gargano, I say, wait a minute, I could still work. If you're going to let me do some matches here and there also, sure, then he might consider it. But if it's one or the other, I think some people would decline it. I remember when Jamie Noble was offered that, and they gave him a retirement match. I don't know if it was in Georgia, but they gave him a retirement match. It was on a WWE house show, and I think it was a 6-man or an 8-man tag. And that was WWE's gracious way to say, okay, Jamie, all right, here's your retirement match. Now you're going to be a full-time agent in the back, no more wrestling. And for some people, that's got to be hard emotionally to do. So I think Gargano still has a lot to give. That's why I don't think Gargano would go to the agent. I also think that Candice LeRae might be more in line to do that. I get it. Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano love to tour together. They have their kid, so I think they would love to keep it that way. But in the world of wrestling, it doesn't always work out that way. How many couples have one wrestling for this company and this person wrestling for this company, or this person on this brand and this person on this brand? It doesn't always work out that way. And when you do have a relationship with someone in wrestling, when two people are in wrestling, that is something that you have to have a long conversation about before you do it, because you can't simply have it this way or no way, because you'll get no way more times than you think. So, shout out to Joe Punches. You're very welcome, my friend. I appreciate it. Tomorrow I'm going to post a GoFundMe link. His brother's got a GoFundMe up, having some real issues medically, and we contribute something today on behalf of the family. So much love to you, my friend. You're very welcome, and I'll definitely post it tomorrow. So I just didn't have enough time to like screenshot it and everything today, but we'll definitely talk about it tomorrow. So thank you for that. All right. Bobby Means. Bobby. Hey, Bobby. WCW had a loaded tag team division towards the end. One team that stood out to him was Chronic. Why didn't Chronic make it in the WWE? You know, it's funny. I haven't talked to Adam Baum in a little while. I am a big fan of Brian Clark. We became friends over the years. Not close friends, but he looks out for me. I look out for him. We talk online once in a while privately too. Brian Clark, very, very good people. I root for that man. You know, the funny thing is, never had a real deep conversation with him about Chronic. He's commented a little bit here and there about Bryan Adams and, you know, some of the work he's done. And one time I was going to bring him on just for a Forbidden Door, but timing didn't work out. But I'll say this. Even though I consider him a friend, and even though we have conversed, I will always tell like I see it. And I tell you the truth, I'm not saying this in a bragging way, but I've made more friends being straight up and honest and respectful about things instead of sugarcoating it and making someone, gushing over someone because you gush. I always thought Chronic was an awesome tag team in WCW. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the APA. And I don't mean like one looked black and one looked white or, they were doing a gimmick. What I mean by that is their physical presence was so there. Here's the best way I could put it. When I say that Chronic reminded me of APA, both tag teams reminded me of bouncers that would be at a club that would throw your ass out on the street. And, you forgot your shoe inside the club and they would come out with the shoe and say, here, you forgot your shoe, and pick you up and throw you on the floor one more time just to be a dick. They came across as bouncers and very dominant in the ring. I think the reason why that did not work in WWE is two reasons. Number one, who were they going to do that to? Who were they going to do that to? Listen, Public Enemy, I'll never forget, Public Enemy. Remember that when they came to the WWF? When Public Enemy came to the WWF, obviously I was a big fan of what they did in ECW. When they went to WCW, I was pleasantly surprised how good WCW used them. But when they went to WWE, they went in there cocky, and they went in there acting like they were legends. And when they started dictating, how things were going to be handled with them in their matches, I think it was APA. They were like, fuck that. And they were gone like this. And I'm not saying that Brian Clark and Bryan Adams had big heads like that. Public Enemy fucked up. Johnny Grunz and Rocco Rock went in there with crazy cocky minds and literally got destroyed, and they were gone. That's it. And they never, unfortunately, they never rebounded from it. Johnny Grunge would pass, and then Rocco Rock would pass, and the rest is history. But with Chronic, when they came in, who were they going to do that to? Even if they were the friendliest people in the world, who are they going to do it to? During the Invasion storyline? I mean, Scotty 2 Hotty and Brian Christopher? You really didn't have the opponents that they could squash. And I don't think WWE would want the perception of this WCW tag team coming in and squashing people like grapes. Because that team, the idea was you just beat the fuck out of people. I think a street fight with APA and Chronic would have been epic if they pushed that. But the problem is, what do you do afterwards? it didn't. It just was never a fit. It was never a fit. Plus, the thing also is, if you look at them at that time, though, and I say this with love to Brian if he hears this, because he does tune in once in a while. At the time, they came off like two guys that if you went to a bar with your girlfriend or your wife, you made sure that you were in the corner. You made sure that you were nowhere near like the area where there's a lot of people, because those two guys came across with the way they looked, the way their appearance, their attitude. They came across like two guys that would turn around and walk up to your girlfriend or wife, say, hey, you want to dance? And your wife or girlfriend say, no. Oh, good. And they start dancing and you're standing there like a goof and there ain't no fucking thing you could do about it. In fact, you're so much of a cuck watching them dance, you put change in the fucking jukebox. You're literally like, like, honey, you having a good time? Like, they're like the type of assholes you never want to come across in a bar. That's how they came across to me. Great tag team, just was not a fit in the WWE. That's my honest opinion. And one day I'm going to have a conversation with him and ask him, like, what's your impression when you were there? I truly think that that's what the case was. When they showed up, it just, it wasn't a good fit. I think they could have done a shitload more in TNA. I think if they had a run like that in TNA, I think it would have been pretty interesting to see how far that could go. But obviously gimmicks change and, age comes in, and unfortunately we had some tragedy along the way too. But definitely good tag team, man. Definitely a good tag team. Plus, when you think of the word chronic, look up Urban Dictionary and just look up chronic. The name obviously is, not a name that you really want to keep around all that much, My God, just think when WWE had the Submission Society. Remember when they had the Submission Society? What was it? Tamina, Sasha, and who else? I don't remember who the parts is. Someone in the chat room remembers. Who are the members of the Submission Society? And then, we Googled it, and all of a sudden, this is all his fucking X-rated videos, because apparently that was a famous porn film, and they scratched it. They totally did they change it to Team Bad or something like that? But the Submission Society, it's obvious that WWE does not do their diligence when they do names. They check things. Let's see, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. I think I got Charlotte right. Yeah, Paige, Charlotte, and Becky, the Submission Society. I'm still amazed at Gunther Stark. I'm still amazed at that, because you simply Google that name and you realize, boss, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we should use that last name. It's interesting to see how many wrestlers had two names and ended up with one. Like I was thinking the other day with Cesaro. Anybody remember Cesaro's first name in the WWE? Anybody remember Rusev's first name in the WWE? I give you a hint that their name began with a vowel. You had a lot of wrestlers that had two names and then they would change it to one. The worst one that they ever did, where they did two and they changed it to one, that I'll never get over, is Mustafa Ali. Anybody remember they changed Mustafa Ali to Ali because they wanted to have it as one name, but every time the announcer would announce him, it sounded like two names. Weighing in at 141 pounds, Ali. And I'm like, that sounds like two names. Ali. No. Antonio Cesaro and Alexander Rusev. Alexander. Hey, Alex. I'll take Lana for 300, Alex. I wonder if anybody ever did that to him. Sitting in the front row when they used to chant Husky Harris when Bray debuted. When he's at ringside. Hey, I'll take Lana for 300, Alex. If I ever talk to him, I'm going to ask him that question. Alexander Rusev. There's others too. We had some others. I have to one day make a list. I'll make a list of all the. In fact, if anyone out there in the comment section after you want to throw out some that we've totally forgotten about, I'm sure there's a few. And Deacon is not considered a first name. Just in case anybody thinks, oh, Deacon Batista. No. Deacon was wasn't Deacon kind of an adjective? No, that would be a noun. No, it would be a noun because Deacon is a noun. Yeah, Deacon's a noun. Val Venus heading up the submissions. Yeah, you know what? If the Submission Society came around in 1998, they probably would have kept it. They probably would have kept the name. I still remember the segments with Val Venus and Jenna Jameson. Jenna Jameson, I tell you, I was never into blondes, but I thought Jenna Jameson was very attractive. And we had seen her once at Goldfinger's on Queens Boulevard. She was there. This is around ECW time, maybe, I don't know, 1997? I don't know if it was called Goldfinger's yet, but it was around 1997. And we saw her at one of the strip places on Queens Boulevard. And even in person, I mean, you look at some adult film stars in person and you look at their face and their makeup is so caked in, like their pores are clogged with cover up and stuff. And you look up close and you're like, wow, like that's a lot of makeup. Jenna Jameson at that time, she had a very beautiful face, even without lots of makeup. She's obviously aged over the years and I don't pay attention to her anymore, but Submission sorority. That's what it was. Submission sorority. Where do I see the Wyatt Six after the release? Doing conventions. The problem is the Wyatt Six are going to realize the same problem why they got released. Not many promoters out there are going to want to book all six unless they could use all six. And how do you use all six? Well, you're probably going to want Nikki Cross in a match by herself. You're probably going to want to have Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis in a match also. Eric Rowan you could bring in for Polaroids. Obviously, you do Polaroids with everybody, but Eric Rowan could be there more to like do a run-in in a match. Bo Dallas, I don't know. See, the problem is Bo Dallas, what the fuck is he going to wear? See, that's the thing. That's the thing I'm most fascinated with. What are they going to be allowed to wear when they do conventions? It's not going to be like Sting. Like Sting is like, this is the last chance you could take a picture with me with makeup. Like, why? Like, seriously, if you make extra money because you have makeup on, why would you stop that? I mean, unless he's got some type of skin disorder now where he can't wear the makeup or it just leaves him, with his face looking like, it's got blotches everywhere. Like, why would you cut out that income? Unless he's got so much fucking money, he's like, I don't need to do it anymore. What is Bo Dallas going to wear? A top hat? Like, what is he going to wear? I don't think he could wear the Uncle Howdy stuff, even if he went to Toys R Us and bought the costume. I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to realize not many promoters are going to want to pay for five people to come in. I think conventions will be the biggest part of it. You might bring in one or two, possibly three. I think Eric Rowan is more likely to go to an event by himself. Nikki Cross, I think, could go to an event by herself. I could see Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy teaming up. It's not going to be as big as we thought. I think you're going to see them together for conventions for the most part. Once in a while, somebody will have the kind of funds to bring in all six, but even that, like outside of Polaroids, how are you going to use them? So, yeah, I don't know what Bo Dallas. I mean, look, personally, what I think is going to happen? I think when they do a convention, excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice. I think when they do a convention, I think more times than not, they're not going to be dressed up. Dexter Lumis has a unique look to himself. Joe Gacy's got a little bit of a look. But I think for the most part, if they're going to be coming in as as a collective package, I think they'll all be in sync with each other. Well, I put it this way. If Bo Dallas can't dress up as Uncle Howdy at all, I think Bo Dallas would probably tell the other guys, like, listen, I got to dress normal. I can't wear the Uncle Howdy stuff. Boss, I got you. Bo, no worries, gotcha. And then they show up and fucking Nikki Cross has got the whole outfit on. Like, and Dexter Loomis has got all the makeup. I don't think they would do that to Bo Dallas. I think they'll be all on the same page. But you know what? That's how they challenge them. I personally think they should just dress normal. As normal as you can possibly get. And the reason why I say that is because you don't want to try to come up with a Temu version of Wyatt Six. If Nikki Cross can't look like Sister Abigail, if Bo Dallas can't look like Uncle Howdy, if the other guys can't look like the way they did in the Wyatt Six, it's going to look like a Temu version. And I personally think, leave it alone, go there as normal people, take a picture together. Just not in a Whataburger. So. Yeah, see, if you ever see Eric Rowan and the way he dresses for conventions, he could get away with it. You know, plaid shirt, pulled out of the pants, brown, you know, like jeans, so to speak, boots, you know, a little disheveled. That's it. That's Eric Rowan. You don't have to worry about him all that much. I just think you won't see much as far as makeup goes. Because it'll look kind of ridiculous. Put it this way, if everybody's wearing makeup except for Bo Dallas, it's going to look like Bo Dallas is posing with the other four guys. Oh, look at that fan. He looks a lot like Bo Dallas. That fan took a picture with them. Where's Bo Dallas? 316 MMA. Who had a better career in the WWE? Liv Morgan or Mandy Rose? How would I book her SummerSlam match? Well, Stephanie Vicaire is about to make her return. I get a weird feeling that Stephanie Vicaire, they may pick up the feud with Liv Morgan again, which I don't want to see, but WWE seems to be going what's old is new again. I think so far, Liv Morgan has had a better career in the WWE than Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose, the problem with Mandy Rose, she had a memorable storyline with Otis and Dolph Ziggler. She had an amazing run in NXT. Toxic Attraction is still one of my favorite women's groups of all time in NXT. But compared to Liv Morgan has cemented herself to be the top of WWE. Mandy Rose has definitely done a shitload, but Mandy Rose I don't think was ever viewed as one of the top women in that company. And it's a shame how she ended up leaving WWE. I mean, she's made a lot of money for herself. She's now going to have a kid. She's happily married. And, you know, she's still young enough that she could return to wrestling in the future. But I think by far it's not even close. Liv Morgan has had a much more successful career in the WWE. Liv Morgan, not even close. But, you know, again, I'm not there yet with predictions with Liv Morgan and Io Sky. I personally don't know what you do with Io Sky after this. So I'm still undecided. But I kind of, unless you're going to do a change in the Judgment Day and have Roxanne Perez break out and then she feuds with Liv, because it seems like WWE's teasing that. The problem is, if you've seen splits teased in Judgment Day, it took them 3 years or 2 years to break up Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. So this could go on for another fucking year, for all we know. So, you know, that's why it's so hard to really predict what's going to happen. But the betting odds have Liv Morgan an easy favorite to win that match. Plus, when you think about it, Liv has had very few title defenses, if any. I mean, she really has had next to none since she won the title. So you kind of want to get some decisive wins under her belt. So that's why I kind of feel like we may see a repeat with Stephanie Vicaire. Twix, do I think Sting was the original option for the third man? as far as NWO, or was it always Hogan? I think it was always Hogan. I think Sting could have been a backup if it didn't work out. But, you know, the thing is, I don't know how old you are, and I don't know if you were a wrestling fan at the time, but I will tell you, Hogan was still getting cheered. When he went to WCW in 1993, he was still getting cheered. It was getting a little tiresome with Hulk Hogan in WCW, but he wasn't booed out of the building. People will try to make you think over the years that fans in WCW were getting fed up with Hogan. They were getting a little bit bored, but it wasn't anywhere near what some people have portrayed it to be. So I think the plan was always Hogan. I think this was something that was discussed with Hall and Nash. I can't see Sting betraying WCW. I just, in the end, maybe it was a loosely, backup in case Hogan didn't want to do it or maybe couldn't do it for whatever reason. But I just don't think Sting would have been. You could have possibly done it with someone else, but I just think Hogan was the perfect choice. Hogan was the perfect choice. Especially, when you think about Sting and his entire life, his entire career. It's just like Sting turning his back against WCW. I think it would have been just very difficult to pull off. Plus, Sting had a lot of charisma, but Sting didn't have the same charisma like Hogan did. Like Sting would cut a couple of lines and make the sounds, but Hogan, it was different. Hogan, literally was the number one guy in wrestling for many, 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 many years. So, Steph is asking, do I think Triple H not booking Sheamus winning the IC title is a missed opportunity? I don't think Grand Slam champions matter as much as it used to. I think for Sheamus, he would have loved to have that title under his belt as a Grand Slam champion, but I don't think you put it on someone simply to put it on them. I think if Sheamus would have returned, before this all happened, I think if Sheamus would have ultimately returned and was healthy enough, there is absolutely no reason why you couldn't have put the belt on Sheamus for a short period of time and give him that Grand Slam opportunity. I think the problem is the timing was never there. Penta caught fire, and I think Penta's reign is going to be coming to an end soon. I don't know exactly when. I'm still, thinking that Oba and Penta is something down the line. I feel, you give Oba a secondary title to start off with and build that up. But, it doesn't mean that Sheamus can't come back in a couple of years. If the guy stays in great condition after 2-3 years, anything is possible. But remember this too, as I said earlier, they offered to restructure his deal. We don't know how much he was offered in a restructure. I still think it's hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he said no. So for someone who has not worked a match since November of last year, for someone who has worked 50 matches in almost 3 years, to say no, it does come off a little greedy on my end. So I think Sheamus could have had the opportunity to be a Grand Slam champion if he would have stayed. But he's the one that chose to leave. I personally see nothing wrong with TKO trying to restructure it. The stats are there. If I would have pulled this up and he would have had 50 matches, 60 matches, and it would look like no decline and he was wrestling this year, then I would turn around and say, all right, I don't blame him for standing by, his guns. But when you see the decline, after 20, put it this way. For people on audio only, just let this sink in for a minute. From 2009 to 2019, for a 10-year stretch, I want you to hear how many matches Sheamus had each year. From 2009 to 2018, the end of 2018, he had 120, 184, 189, 220, These are a year. 140, 172, 145, 164, 169, 145. That's what he had in a 10-year period. What has he had since 2019? 46, 43, 66, 85, 47, 29, 26, 0. So, to me, that's telling. That's telling. Especially, even though he was able to come back from this scare, facing spinal stenosis, he obviously has never been able to come back 100%. Look at how little matches he's had. It's crazy. 200 matches a year. It's like every time you hear a legend say, I wrestle 200 times a year, you're like, yeah, you're full of shit. It actually is true for some wrestlers. 200 times in 1 year, it's crazy. When do I think WWE put a title on Braun? He's got a title right now. As far as the World Heavyweight Championship, next year. Next year, there's no rush. There is absolutely no rush at all to put a World Heavyweight Championship on Braun. Right now, Braun is a future superstar and is over, but he is not a huge ticket seller yet. You don't have people in droves. I paid to see Braun. He's not a crazy-ass merchandise seller, so you take your time. He's your future. There is absolutely no need to rush him simply because people are anxious and want to see him win the belt. No need. None. Oh, Braun has recovered quite fine losing to Seth. His matches against Seth were street fights, cage matches, tag team matches. Very rare was it just a straight-up one-on-one wrestling match where he jobbed clean. There's always a special circumstance, and, he's perfectly fine. These are tests, but at the same time, no damage whatsoever. None. All right. What time do we have here? We're going to wrap this up in 5 minutes. We are sticking with the 10 p.m. tonight. We are definitely sticking with it. So again, don't forget tomorrow, right after Raw, I'll be here. We'll get into a bunch of wrestling news. I may have to do a little bit more research on the SummerSlam stats, because that is crazy. When you look at those numbers, I mean, it's quite startling to see where the change was. And the most amazing thing about it is, WWE's decision to go to stadiums was before TKO bought the company. So this is not just the TKO thing. This was a Vince McMahon thing. Difference is, 3 years ago, SummerSlam ticket prices were far less than what they are now. Plus, the Cody factor was still a little bit fresher. Cody was only in the company for a year or two. CM Punk, I don't even think he was back yet 3 years ago. You know what I mean? So the bloodline was still at a totally different level. Drew McIntyre was on a totally different level. It was a lot different from 3 years ago. Now, you see what you're getting. It doesn't surprise me that Netflix doesn't have all the episodes of Raw. That is a shitload of storage to put on there. Plus, I don't see a plethora of people going out of their way to watch old episodes. I mean, I will pull an episode from time to time for reference if I'm doing a history show or if there's a moment that I want to watch again. I think for a lot of people, I think YouTube is the way to go for old Raw stuff, because not only is it always there, but you can binge watch and YouTube will put it in algorithms. I can't tell you how many times WCW is recommended to me in algorithms, and I have not watched a WCW clip on YouTube in probably 6 months. And WWE is the one putting them out. Every night when I go through my recommended feed, there's always a WCW video in there. And I don't understand why it keeps popping up. I'm not watching it. It just doesn't draw the numbers that you would think. I mean, nostalgia is great and everything, but unless you're specifically looking for a moment, not a lot of people will just say, hey, I want to watch 1998 Raw. Usually they want to see a specific moment. Peacock, I don't believe, has rights to the episodes anymore. Peacock, no. Again, I think YouTube is the way to go. Tubi is a name, get used to. I saw a couple of morons in the wrestling news world this weekend saying, oh, AEW is on the same network as TNA and NWA and WWE and this. I'm like, Tubi is kind of like the streaming version of Time Warner or Net or Spectrum or Verizon Fios. Like, it's not like they sign these exclusive deals. Tubi is a streaming channel with ads added to it. You know, you watch vintage AEW, and I did check it out to see what the commercial structure was like. It wasn't that bad. But that's what Tubi is. It's a free channel that you could watch old content on, and you get showered with ads. But it's only a couple of years of programming. They're not going to put 20, 30-year libraries on there. That's insane. And plus, if it's a 24-hour streaming, you know, you have on-demand things, obviously, but when I watch the TNA channel on Roku, on the Roku channel, you know, there's already pre-picked content. You either sit there and watch what they have on the channel, or that's it. Yeah, Tubi's free. Tubi's free. I laughed at all the people that were using the term fast. I mentioned this on Wednesday when they were writing, oh, AEW Fast Channel is now playing. And they're trying to make it seem like all FAST stands for is free with ads. There's no channel called FAST. It's just what do they call it? Algorithm? I don't know. FAST stands for free with ads. Free with ads. That's all it is. It's no unique channel. It's a free platform with ads. That's all it is. All right, as we close this out, we're going to close it with 3. First of all, Rocky Red, Rhea Ripley stuff is getting ridiculous. Been over a month. They never addressed her, and she's still the champion. There is a clip on X right now. She's talking with I'm thinking of New Jack right now. Baloney! There's Rhea Ripley talking to a young lady, I think an interview from the MMA world. You'll know why I said baloney. And Rhea Ripley nonchalantly brings up that she had a knee injury and doesn't really divulge that much about it, but I think she's downplaying the injury a little bit. So I wonder if Rhea Ripley is still going to be a go at SummerSlam. I have a feeling she's not, but I'm also annoyed that WWE never addressed the situation with her title. I mean, I get it. You want her to be champion, but if she's going to be out for 2 months, unfortunately, these are the breaks. Curtis Blow, those are the breaks. I hate the way WWE's handled it. But what also sucks is if Rhea Ripley is going to be able to go, it annoys me that Io Sky in storyline was so quick to pick Liv Morgan. I think the fans would have wanted to see Io and Rhea. Don't forget, that was the main event for Evolution last year, till Naomi stepped in with Briefcase. So, and that match was off the hook. Io and Rhea Ripley tore it up. It was off the hook. And I think that match fans would have wanted to see at SummerSlam a hell of a lot more than Liv Morgan, in my opinion. Acronym. Thank you very much, Ben. All right. Who's got the last 2? I expect to hear something shortly about Toni Storm. Absolutely. Listen, it's obviously a very private matter with her. And I think one day she will reveal it. It's kind of like Piper Niven. Piper Niven's situation was very emotionally devastating to her. And she kept it hush-hush for quite a while. And once she was comfortable enough to tell everybody what happened with her neck, that's when she opened up about it. For Toni Storm, whatever the reason is, and there is some good speculation out there, but all the answers that I've been given are all private ones. And me, I look at it like it really isn't any of our business if it's one of these particular reasons. So one day, she will explain. One day she'll be back. And I have a feeling Toni Storm at All In is definitely a possibility. I think she may be more inclined as a surprise. I don't think AEW feels they have to announce her for ticket sales, even though Wembley is not selling all that great either. But I think we'll hear something from Toni Storm much sooner than many expect. So I did see Jack Swagger get knocked out in that slap. Mahabala Shira, that was his name in TNA? He slapped him in the face and knocked it. I don't like the slap stuff. I can't, that's got to do something to the brain. I'm sorry. Just because you slap here and not here, it's got to do something. It's got to do something to the neck. It's got to do, I just think your face and your head and your nervous system is not programmed to withstand that. Something's gonna, I'm not comparing it to football, but I think some people down the line are gonna get discovered with some injuries and they're gonna try to sue Power Slap. I don't know when that day will come, but one day will come that people are gonna blame Power Slap for some type of injuries. It's just not normal to get hit like that in the face. I don't care if it's open hand or not. It's just, to me, it's not normal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you really want to, you throw that, I'm not trying to give anybody ideas, but you could throw that video in AI and tell AI, substitute Jack Swagger with anybody you want. And you could have anybody slap anybody. You could go in there and you could have anybody slap anybody. Let's just leave it at that. Right now, if Dixie Carter used AI, she probably would take that video of Jack Swagger getting slapped, and she'll be like, Gemini, change Jack to Karen Jarrett and change Shira to Dixie Carter. But that's you. Shh. You can change to anything you want. We're not talking about boxing and MMA right now. I think boxing also has caused issues, concussions, brain injuries. I mean, it's obviously a risky sport. You know what you're getting. But the thing is, the difference I have about Power Slap is that you've had people try to convince us that Power Slap does not cause any, permanent injury or risk of injury. And the minute someone gets diagnosed with something, they're going to go back and say, unlike boxing that warned of possible, you look at Muhammad Ali, you look at others, who had, you saw what happened to them. I think someone at some point is going to get some type of diagnosis and they're going to sue the shit out of Power Slap. I don't know if Gunther's chop could mess somebody's heart up. I think depending on where you slap, I think depends. Some people, that's why, you got to be very careful when you execute moves, because a couple of inches one way or another could do some severe damage to someone. Just imagine getting accidentally chopped in the throat. Just imagine that. Imagine accidentally getting chopped in the larynx by Gunther's slap, or a little bit lower. And that's why, that's why William Regal, I think William Regal is the one that said that he wouldn't let anybody chop him or do something to him because he was always worried about, something else. But all right, one more and we're going to jet. Deuce says difference between Power Slap versus boxing and MMA. You're not allowed to defend yourself according to the rules. Well, if you get slapped hard enough in the face and does some damage, retaliating doesn't make this better in any way. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. In boxing and MMA, you could fight back. But my point is, it's not natural to get that kind of impact to that area. And, it's like they say, the head bone is connected to the neck bone bone's connected to the shin bone's connected to the toe bone. I know that's not the way the song goes, but it's got to do something. I don't know. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing some people slapped, but it's not for me. Joshua says, do I think WWE will go out of business when the top stars retire? No, because a lot of wrestlers that are building their future now, will be the biggest stars of tomorrow. Obafemi is going to be set. You got other wrestlers. I mean, you got wrestlers in AEW, you got wrestlers in the Indies, you got wrestlers in NXT. You know, our perception of who are the top guys right now, you know, someone else will take that spot a couple of years from now. So it's always changing. We've watched wrestling for decades upon decades upon decades. Some people who were enhancement talent in the 90s ended up being the leaders of the company in the 2000s. Wrestlers in the 2000s that were the opening curtain jerker ended up being the main eventers in the 2010s. So it's always turning over. And plus, somebody who's in their 30s right now, you know, if they are smart enough with their career, they can work off and on for the next 10, 15 years. So, no, I don't see it happening anytime soon. So, all right. I am going to jet. So, we'll pick up this conversation tomorrow. So, I hope you could join me. I'll be live Monday night right after Raw. We'll definitely get into news. We'll recap Raw. If we have to add anything for what we talked about tonight, we will. And we'll see other matches that are going to be added. I heard we're going to get at least 2 or 3 matches added for SummerSlam tomorrow. Obviously, Penta's opponent will be decided, and most people think it's going to be Chad Gable. Not totally sold on that as of yet, but we'll see. And I don't know necessarily if I want to see Chad Gable versus Penta. I mean, a lot of respect there, and he respects the mask now and everything, but I'm not sure if I really want to see that. We'll see what happens on Raw. We'll definitely talk about it, but I'm going to jet. So much love to everybody. Thank you as always for the support, and we'll catch you on the next one. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.